Perfect. Perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's time!
What is going on, everybody? We are now live here on the Around the Point Network YouTube channel. It's been 20 years, 20 years that we lost Eddie Guerrero. It really just sunk into me today that, damn, it's really been 20 years, man. It's crazy, man. Like, it's one of those things where you remember where you were. And I've always said the story. Like, I've explained the story, you know, where I was, what I was doing at the time when I found out the day that he died and all that stuff. And like, granted, I'm aware that he died on the Sunday, but everyone found out about what happened on that Monday morning, right? So let me get it, just opening up a can real quick while I'm doing this. And I remember, like, yeah, I remember going to school that Monday morning. Mind you, I was a freshman in high school at the time. I was a high school freshman, and I was doing my usual thing on every single Monday that I would do. I would go to the locker room at the school gym, and I would put my gym clothes, for the day and all that stuff in my locker. And as I'm leaving, I've heard two kids at the time, right? Like, we're all adults now, but you get the idea. At the time, two kids talking about Eddie Guerrero passing away. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe it, man. He died." I'm like, "Who died? Eddie Guerrero?" I'm like, "Please tell me you're lying. Please tell me you are lying that this did not happen." And they were telling me, "Yeah, he really did die." So keep this in mind. In 2005, I wasn't that familiar yet. I wasn't familiar yet with what was the IWC, right? So at the time, I didn't know of the Wrestling Observer or all these other like wrestling news sites. So what I did was went to the source that I only knew at the time. It was www.com, and there it was. Eddie Guerrero passed away, and just my day just was miserable. That I was miserable that day. I didn't want to be in school. Like, I was just quiet the entire day. No one really could figure out what was wrong with me. And I didn't want to say it, you know what I mean? But I knew what the reason, obviously, because Eddie died. And I remember getting back home from school, and I go to my room and I just cried the entire afternoon. Um, I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to watch Monday Night Raw that Monday because again, you kind of knew what you were gonna get, a tribute show, and it was. And it's crazy to think, like, yo, it's really been 20 years, you know, and to think that his legacy till this day is lived, right? It's felt, it's, you see it, it matches, right, and all that stuff. And it's crazy. It really, really is insane to think that it's been 20 years since we lost Latino Heat. Um, yeah, by the way, rest in peace. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Safat. Yeah, 20 years. That's why I posted the photo there. That's crazy, brother. My condolences, man. My Eddie Guerrero passed away the same year as my dad did in 2005. My grandfather, my dad's father, passed away the year prior in 2004. You know, um, Eddie's son just wrestled John Cena. Yeah, he did. He did. It didn't matter if it's Mysterio Guerrero. John Cena wins. LOL. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. Again, it's been 20 years since we lost Eddie Guerrero. And again, um, his legacy will live on forever. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. I always share this story every year, right, where I was. And I feel like all of us, like, let me know in the chat, where were you the day Eddie Guerrero passed away? When you found out of what happened, if you will, when you found out the news that he passed away, what were you doing? Where were you at? Because for all of us, it's different stories. For me, I was in school. I was a high school. I was a freshman in high school. You know what I mean? So there was that. And also, by the way, guys, if you're tuning in right now, I do have a poll on the YouTube stream where you can place your vote on what was the better blood and guts match. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is another live edition of Something About Dynamite here on the Around the Point Network YouTube channel. It is Thursday, November 13th, 2025. It is 6:40 p.m. I am Steve, and if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down below. Give this video a big old thumbs up. Yes, I do need a fucking haircut. Also, while you're at it, hit the thumbs up, hit that bell notification. You'll be notified when your boy goes live, when the gang goes live every single time here on the channel. And also, while you're at it, hit the bell notification. Spread the word. Tell your friends about us. Tell your friends, your in-laws, whoever the fuck it is. Let them know. All right. And if you guys want to feel generous, the super chat is welcomed. Okay. The super chat is welcome for those of you who, feel generous, want to leave a little contribution, a little donation. It's appreciated, ladies and gentlemen, as always. Okay. Now you know. Ya lo saben. Okay. I had to check the poll real quick to see how's it looking, and let's talk about blood and guts. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite from last night. So going into the show, you already knew what you were going to expect from AEW, right? You knew you were going to get a train wreck. And I don't mean train wreck in a bad way. I mean train wreck like, yo, it's going to be crazy, be hardcore, blood, just the two rings. And again, you are excited for just the thought of seeing the two rings, the big giant cage. They were in a historic building in Greensboro, North Carolina, I guess. Yeah, in the same building where, they've had all those other War Games matches, where Flair wrestled, Dusty wrestled, Steamboat wrestled back in the day. It's a very big, important wrestling city, wrestling, ¿cómo se dice? How do I say this? Environment. It's a very big wrestling environment, right? So, and to me, I'll be honest with you, going into this show, I was expecting all that. And I thought overall, to be honest with you, I thought this was one of the better Dynamites because it was a themed episode. This by default is better than most of the stuff we got these last couple of weeks on television, in my humble opinion. And yes, you can say that, oh, you know what? It was historic because it was historic for the simple fact that this was the first blood and guts match that featured women in AEW. Yes, I am aware in WWE, they have their war games and they've done it too, right? And depending where you stand with all the stuff, right? I'll be honest, and I'll get into this more when I get to the match. I just wish, and this is just me, let me know what you guys felt about it, how you feel about this. I personally feel that the timing of blood and guts was wrong. And hear me out. Don't think, oh, you just don't want to see that. No. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. I'm more in the fact that, okay, in this case, the women. Fuck it. I'll get into this right now. Okay, I'll get into this. I don't think you should have done blood and guts at this time. I feel like because, hey, they have a pay-per-view literally next weekend. They have a pay-per-view, Full Gear. They're also in the middle of this women's tag team title tournament to crown your first ever women's tag team champions. And then on top of all that, you place this blood and guts match. I personally would have done it at a later time. You know what I mean? Or if you know what, put the match on the PLE. My bad. The pay-per-view. There's going to be a lot of sickos so upset. Oh, why'd you call it PLE? That's not the word. You fucking E-drone. Shut the fuck up. I'm kidding. I love all of you. But that's just me. I honestly would have not done both Blood and Guts here. Matter of fact, I would have had a pay-per-view, AEW Blood and Guts. That's what I would have done also. But that's just me. I get it. Tony wants to put this on free television, right? Which is generous, which is very thoughtful. Let me just say, all right. For the most part, I enjoyed myself watching the show. Let me be clear, okay? Before anyone, Steve being this again, I'm just saying. But let me know your thoughts. Do y'all feel the same way? Do you feel like the timing of this event kind of like, because of, again, there's a pay-per-view coming up, and also you have this women's tag team title tournament, and all the women are in the tournament. All the women that were in this match, a good chunk of them are in the tag team title tournament. Let me know. Palou writes here, I enjoyed both, but Women's Blood and Guts was the best one. See, Money, wrestling is part of the culture in Greensboro, the history. Absolutely. Safet writes here, Sky Blue was the MVP in the Women's Blood and Guts match. You're not wrong on that one. I thought she had the performance of her career to date. This match she was made for this match, in my humble opinion. Finally, Sky Blue, Julia Hart, Tekla, Megan Bay, Mercedes Moné settled that long-running blood feud with Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Harley Cameron. Yeah. And the women's blood and gut match was a lot better than the men's blood and guts. That's fine. But let me know your thoughts, though. Do y'all feel the same way? Do you guys feel that maybe they should have done this event on a pay-per-view or on a later date when you don't got all this stuff already happening as we speak? Let me know in the chat, okay? Also, while we're going at this as well, feel free to drop your poll in the chat there. What did y'all think was the better blood and guts match, the men or the women? All right, let me know in the poll, and I'll read the result at the end of the stream. Also, while you're at it, guys, those of you that are tuning in, if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a big old thumbs up. Share it throughout all your entire social media platforms. And if you're feeling generous, hit the super chat. It does help out the channel, okay? It does help out the channel. And if you want to be a channel member, it's only $2.99 a month. Last night, the gang, the gang, right? The family here. We were watching Blood and Guts as a family. We don't do, like, again, Something About Dynamite. Sometimes old habits, they just die. Old habits, it happens. Just because Something About Dynamite isn't no longer a watch along doesn't mean we don't watch the shows. We do, but we watch them as a family, just like we watched Raw, just like we watched last night, Blood and Guts, right? But again, if you want that, become a channel member. It's only $2.99 a month. All right. So let's get into this. Again, they were at the First Horizon Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is the same building where Sting had his last match in wrestling. And like I said before, I enjoyed myself for the most part of the show. They opened the show with the women's blood and guts match. Ladies first. And damn it, they fucking delivered, I must say. They delivered, in my opinion, for the most part. Okay? So basically in this match, going into this, the heel team had the advantage. So basically, the Triangle of Madness, Mercedes Moné, Megan Bayne, Marina Shafir, they had the women's advantage. In the blood and guts match, all right? Which I kind of prefer. I always like when the heel team have the advantage, in my opinion. That's just me, okay? But we start off with Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue to kick things off. And it took no less than 8 minutes for there to be blood. And Sky Blue was the first person. This will be a hell of a trivia question, by the way. And by the time we get to the end of the year, who was the first woman to bleed in Blood and Guts 2025? Yes, it was Sky Blue. And buddy, she was just dropping blood, right? The right way. the right way, in my humble opinion. Uh, and after this, the third entrant here was Julia Hart. So there's that advantage, right? And there was some trouble. I don't know if y'all caught this or not. They were trying to find a weapon between the turnbuckles and they couldn't find it. So they went to the other side. They're like, fuck it, let's just continue the match as they did. But yes, you saw the advantage there. You saw the advantage of the heels in this. And then it was followed by Harley Cameron, who, again, shows up and she does her offense as well. After this, Tekla is an entrant, right? And pulls a belt off of her boot and starts whipping everyone in the match. Whipping everyone, right? And then after this, entrant number 6 was Jamie Hayter. And she started hitting everybody with weapons, right? Got her shine there as well and all that stuff. And then number 7, the entrant number 7 here for the heel team here, it was Megan Bayne. And Megan Bayne proceeds to go off on everyone, looking very dominant, right? Someone that you would say could be a women's champion in this company, right? Um, after this, the 8th entrant was the AEW Women's World Champion, Chris Statlander, who makes her way to the ring and she hits all these offensive moves with the belt on, with the women's world title belt around her waist. And while she was on her offense, there's a moment where her and Willow Nightingale, they had a stare and they stopped for a bit. They stopped, right? And on commentary, they referenced the fact that, hey, Willow and Chris Statlander, yeah, they used to be friends. They were best friends. And then something happened, right? We all know what happened. Chris Statlander turned heel and they never really made up, right? So it's kind of on and off where they're like, I'm letting you do your thing. I'm doing my thing. But some habits just, they're there. So they're going to be protective, right? After this, the 9th entrant was Mercedes Moné. And look, her music played and she had all the belts on a table, right? With the belts. And she lays out Chris Statlander and right away gets out of the ring. And she brings all of her belts into the ring and everyone around them, everyone who was around, like on the heel team, right? Grabbed the belt and started using it as a weapon. And matter of fact, there is live footage of these belt makers, the people who are the ones who are responsible for making these title belts, right? Like your Reggie Park, your Dave Millikins, right? Your Paul Martins, these guys who work hard, hours, days, whatever it may be, to make these wrestling belts what they are, these nice presentations, right? The craftsmanship. This is live footage of belt makers that saw their work being used as a weapon on television.
Damn it, God damn it!
Fuck!
Yep, I would be too. If I'm a belt maker and I'm seeing my belt that it took me hours. Granted, I got paid, so that you could do what you want with it. But damn, like just the artist in me, like, damn, this is what y'all doing on my work? The fuck is wrong with y'all? The fuck? And then after this, the 10th entrant to make her way out was Mina Shirakawa. And she slipped kind of on the top rope off a double team move. And then after this, we saw Marina Shafir. And she's dropping Statlander, right, off on a board that had nails on them, right? She lands on it. And then she takes off her shoes. She's barefoot. She has taped on her feet, whatever, right? And she goes into the ring, starts taking down everybody on with these judo moves. And then after this, the last entrant was Timeless Toni Storm. And she had like a Joker, theme there going for her, right? And then there are fights that are, again, after this, the official Blood and Guts match begins. And you see their fights and brawls all outside the structure. Right, all outside the structure. There's a moment where I think it was Sky Blue and Julia Hart who got off through one of like the circles, one of the pillars, right? So there was that also. again, just everyone going crazy, right? And one of the refs, right, got speared by Tekla in this match. One of the referee got speared by Tekla, and they took the key away from the referee. I think it was Scott. I think it was Julia Hart who took the key, right? And they throw everyone from the babyface team, like Harley Cameron. I think Statlander like flew out of the ring through the stairs in a very like way, right? So then you see all the heels grab a hold of Timeless Tony Storm, and she sees Megan Bayne. Now keep this in mind. I must preface it. This a little critique here. So there's a moment in the match where Willow Nightingale does a suplex onto Megan Bayne in the middle. So you guys know in between the rings, there's a little gap there where you can step on and brawl, whatever, right? So Willow Nightingale does a suplex, and they land in the middle in that little center part, the hardest part of the ring. But Megan Bayne gets up like it's nothing and is the one whipping Timeless Tony, Mina Shirakawa, while Marina Shafira has Mina Shirakawa in a chokehold or some modified chokehold, right? And she's whipping, that being Megan Bayne, the same one who just ate this suplex from the cage structure onto the middle part of the ring. Meanwhile, Willow Nightingale, who did perform the move, is laying there knocked the fuck out. That part to me made no sense. But whatever, right? And Timeless Tony Storm is being forced to surrender because she loves her friend and she does not want to see her friend keep, getting hurt. So there's a story there, right? We're seeing that, Timeless Tony Storm does have affection. She does have compassion, sympathy. But I thought overall, hey, the right team won over here. It was a good ending, right? It's a very good ending. I just wish, honestly, I just wish they would have done the women's blood and guts at a different time. Not when you have the pay-per-view coming up next weekend. And then you have a women's tag team title tournament to crown your first ever women's tag team champion. And then in between all of that, hey, let's do the cage match. The two ring, the one cage, blood. People might get hurt. Thankfully, no one got seriously injured here, so the tournament continue. Also, in this whole thing as well, there is a moment where Penelope Ford and Queen Amanada were at ringside and they ran each other off. So there was that too. But overall, I thought for the first Women's Blood and Guts match, I thought they delivered. I thought they 100% delivered. But I'll be honest with you. I don't think you should have done it right here. Should have waited, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. From there, we go backstage and we see Luchasaurus and Jack Perry getting attacked by the members of the Don Callis family, right? And then we see the Young Bucks and Okada and Don Callis coming out of a trailer. And they get a hold of Jack Perry, and I think it was Matt Jackson who was looking at Jack Perry, and Josh Alexander just continued to put a beating on Jack Perry to show him respect. You don't mess with the family. And I know it was also announced that Okada will be at Collision this coming this coming Friday? Yeah, this Saturday he will be at Collision. That's right. I think, my bad, Kenny Omega. I'm sorry. I think Kenny Omega will be at Collision this Saturday. And being that, hey, two of his teammates are hurt, it's going to be kind of difficult now, right? Because his tag team partners for the pay-per-view match are hurt, right? So he returns next week. Okay, so he returns next Wednesday. Correction. Kenny Omega will return next Wednesday on the 3-hour collision. Yeah, 3 hour. Holy shit, dude. Which I'll get into in a little bit here as well. Okay. But this led to, again, Don Callis wanting the Young Bucks to make a decision. Like, bro, are you guys in or what? Are you guys down with the family? They want the Young Bucks to join the Don Callis family. That's what this boils down to. You know, when you look at the whole thing, right? And then Okada with the funny line, decision time, and then he walks away. I thought that was funny, in my opinion. After this, you still see me, right? I still see me. Please tell me you still see me. Please tell me you still see me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. God damn it. Righty, I'm back. I'm back here. All right. I know my screen for y'all still hear me, right? Let me know. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me in the chat? Let me know if y'all hear me. Okay. I know my computer was like, fuck you today, bro. So here we are. I'll tell you what, once my computer gets fixed again, gets back to normal, I'll get back on the computer. But for now, I'm on the phone. But yeah, so you did have the whole thing with where Don Callis wanted the Young Bucks to, you know, join the Don Callis family. The Young Bucks, they're still hesitant about it. They're still hesitant about the shit, though, right? So then after this, we had Hangman Adam Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs. And they start the match and they start off with them wanting to break the turnbuckle pads, the top turnbuckle pads on their corner, right? For whatever reason. And Hangman looked like he was struggling to break off this turnbuckle pad, right? He was struggling. And then this led to them going at it, right? It's basically Powerhouse Hobbs trying to, like, how do I put this? Be very dominant with offense. Again, Heyman did have those tape ribs, right? From the things to the ops. And what do you know? They start brawling all through they start brawling in the outside, right? They go through the crowd. There's a moment, and by the way, it's a false count anywhere, by the way. It's a false count anywhere. So there's a moment in the match where Powerhouse Hobbs does a spine buster through a table, and gets a near fall. Gets this near fall. Um, and again, the crowd's into this, right? Because again, they're fighting into the crowd. At the same time, though, I'll be honest, I get what they're trying to go with, though. They're trying to go with this whole thing that, hey, Hangman Adam Page has to go through the entire ops, right? So this week it was, Powerhouse Hobbs. Next week it will be Katsuyori Shibata, right? Because there is that 3 hour. A second here. Let me get it. Here we go. Next week it will be. If I got this here. Wait a minute. Nope. 1 second. There we go. Next week it will be, you know, Hangman Adam Page versus Katsuyori Shibata. By the way, it's a 3 hour special. So it's Dynamite then Collision because of full gear. But yeah, man, there's a moment near the end here where they're brawling, right? And they're on a balcony, right, through the crowd, right? So the crowd's going crazy for this shit, right? So um there's a moment where Hangman Great takes off his boot, and mind you, how Hod is hanging on. He's hanging on for dear life, right? Because literally behind him is the floor, right? And there's a table there, right, with like electrical shit. And Hangman takes off his boot and literally goes for like a modified buckshot lariat. And Powerhouse Hop falls. He falls through this table, right, onto like an equipment, next to an equipment cart, a cargo cart, and electrical shit, right? Falls through it, and then Hangman covers him for the 1, 2, 3, and Hangman Adam Page finds a way to win, gets another win here, right? So now he has to go through, like I mentioned only moments ago, he has to go through Katsuyori Shibata. He has to go through Katsuyori Shibata, and then after that, the Saturday, he has to go against Samoa Joe. And by the way, because after the match, Samoa Joe, Katsuyori Shibata try to attack the Hangman. They try to attack him, right? It looked like they were going to have the advantage. Samoa Joe was requesting for them to bring down the cage, bring down the structure. And it looked like they were doing it right. They played the music and shit. And then who happens to make the save for the AEW Men's World Champion? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna call it the World Champion. Okay. And who happens to make the save for the Hangman? None other than Eddie Kingston and Hook. They both make the save for Hangman Adam Page. And the crowd is going crazy for this, right? For the most part. And then Hangman Adam Page says, you know what, Joe? If all you wanted was the cage, all you had to do all you had to do was say it. Because now it is official. Full gear, the AEW World Championship match between Hangman Adam Page and Samoa Joe will now officially be a steel cage match. That's right. It is going to be a steel cage match now for the AEW World title. And I'm fine with this. Again, um, I know the end goal is to eventually do Samoa Joe, that is to do Hangman Adam Page and MJF. That is the goal once we get to it, right? But for now, this is fine. It's a filler program for Hangman Adam Page to get through until we get to World's End. But yeah, it's a cage match. You know, I definitely see the Hangman retaining, but we'll see. You never know. Maybe AEW throws a surprise at everybody, where you just don't see it coming. You don't expect it, right? Uh, Also, this coming Saturday, I don't know how the fuck this is even going to happen, but it will be Mark Briscoe versus Mark Davis. This company, I swear, bro, has no compassion. Like, bruh, Mark Briscoe just went through fucking hell in the Blood and Guts match, and now you want to put him in a fucking world, like in a fucking match on Collision? Like, bro, on fucking Collision, bro. On fucking Collision. Can you believe this shit? Can you fucking believe this?
Hashtag AEW Collision. Saturday, Saturday. Ain't nobody watching that. Come on.
So my computer is on again, but I'm waiting for some stuff to load up here, and then I'll get back to the computer. I apologize once again for the technical issues here. Um, I apologize, okay, for the technical issues with my computer. Again, for whatever reason, it just likes to do this shit. It makes no sense. I don't understand why, but it is what it is. If you guys have questions for me too, feel free to drop in your questions as well. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on the show is as well. Uh, by the way, Mercedes didn't bleed at all in Blood and Guts. That woman has so much on her plate right now. She has so much on her plate. Like, she was in Italy. right? Mercedes Moné was in Italy, I think, last over the weekend. She's doing Blood and Guts, which was last night, right? And now I think this Saturday she's going to the Super Clash House of Glory event where she will likely win another fucking title. It's crazy. So kudos to her. Kudos to her for the most part. So I'm trying to get back into the computer. Okay. Just bear with me here, y'all. Bear the fuck with me. Bear the fuck with me. Again, guys, if you have questions for me, drop in your questions. Okay. Drop in those questions while I get this loaded and shit. Feel free to drop in your questions. Again, guys, if you've not checked out the other content here on the channel, yesterday, what was it? Well, not my bad, on Tuesday, I went live with the Raw Rundown, where John Cena is now the new WWE Intercontinental Champion. He beat Dominic Mysterio in Boston. In Boston. So now he's a Grand Slam champion. And then on Monday on Steve's Kitchen, I gave my thoughts on the whole situation regarding Ridge Holland and the GoFundMe, and my thoughts on the walkout that Nixon Newell and Miranda Alizé conducted this past Saturday over on Collision. So if you've not checked that out, whenever you get a chance, guys, go give those a watch, listen, however it is that you guys, watch all these videos and stuff. I'm still waiting for this computer to fucking load up. This is ridiculous. This is crazy. And exactly, thank you, Sylvester, for understanding, man. Thank you for understanding. Shit happens. No one's perfect. Okay? No one is fucking perfect. I gotta get this figured out. I gotta really, really get this shit figured out for real, for real. But I should be entering soon. But again, guys, if you have questions for me, in the meantime, drop in those questions. In the meantime, drop in your questions while I wait for my computer to get its shit together, if you will. But outside of that, I mean, this weekend you do have UFC. You know, Jericho made some comments, right, regarding praising Bound for Glory, right? Did I read that right? That he was praising Bound for Glory. It felt like a WWE show, right? Like, oh, it felt like the number two promotion, right? And that something about AEW, and people were kind of mad about that. I mean, look, it's clear to say that he's on his way out, possibly, right? So, I mean, I'm not shocked by this at all. All right, I should be getting on in a bit here. So, loading up. What happened to my fucking what's this? What's this? There we go. I don't know what the fuck happened there. Okay. I'm gonna get back into the computer, all right, boys and girls? Be back in.
Yeah, miss me? Hey, we're back. We are so back, y'all. We are so back. Uh any thoughts on Andrade walking out of the Mexico event? Unprofessional. But again, I don't know what the backstory was. Was he threatened or something? Or did he just decide on his own will to just say, fuck this? I'm not wrestling tonight. We don't know. We don't fucking know. But let's get into now the meat and potatoes of this. The men's blood and guts. Was it as good as the women's? It was all right. Nothing again to go like crazy about that I'm gonna, for the most part. All right. But nonetheless, it fit every description. It was chaotic. It was, crazy. People were bleeding left and right. It was melee. It was literally blood and guts, as you would expect. you know? Not saying the match was bad or anything. I just, at this point, I think just like everyone else, we're all just fed up with the Death Riders, you know? So, and again, you want to believe this is it. It's the end of the Death Riders, but the reality is it's AEW, right? So who's to really say that this is really the end of the Death Riders and we're going to still see one more match or some shit? It's very, very possible, I hope not. But again, you just can't trust this company, You really, really can't. So this match started off with Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta to start off the men's Blood and Guts. And Wheeler Yuta, right off the rip, got out of the cage, right? Got out of the cage, but Darby Allin followed him to the outside with a drop kick. Like he did like a springboard drop kick to the outside, right? And outside, they continue to go at it. They were continuing to brawl, right? And then Wheeler Yuta got the upper hand. But then Darby counters and hits a modified coffin drop. Like he goes and he climbs the cage, and off the cage, he drops onto Wheeler Yuta, right? And again, with his modified of a coffin drop, right? And then follow with a code red. And then Darby Allin hit Yuta with a skateboard that had tacks on him, like thumbtacks on the bottom of the skateboard. Like we've seen him use this before as a weapon in the past, right? Which makes, this basically made Wheeler Yuta be the first man in the men's Blood and Guts match to bleed, right? Because again, there would be a lot of people bleeding, right? And again, it's a trivia question, right? Who was the first man to bleed in the men's Blood and Guts match at Blood and Guts 2025? Remember that. Wheeler Yuta. Who was the first woman to bleed in the women's Blood and Guts match at AEW Blood and Guts 2025? Oh, Sky Blue. Easy answers, y'all. Easy answers. And being in this match, the babyface team, the conglomeration and Roderick Strong, they had the upper hand in this. They had the advantage, right? And then during this, right, the next entrance to this match was Orange Cassidy. And Excalibur referenced that he was once a mentor, that being Orange Cassidy was once a mentor to Wheeler Yuta. And then he proceeds to break his own glasses and use it as a weapon. He had a book bag on him, and in the book bag he had a chain, right? That he wrapped his fist around and started punching, Wheeler Yuta, right? And then the next entrant for this match was from the Death Riders, Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia came out there and he was wearing his COVID-19 mask. And he comes out there, right? And I'm like,
exactly, no pop.
I know I'm not the only one. I know for a fact I was not the only one, right? But he tried, he tried his darnest for the most part, right? And again, Wheeler Yuta Daniel Garcia gets in the ring. And again, the momentum shift again on the advantage of the Death Riders, believe it or not, with Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia. I cannot fucking believe it. And then commentary was impressed that Jon Moxley is allowing the younger members of the Death Riders to start this match off. They were under this impression that, oh, hey, because Blood and Guts, let's start off with some veterans, right? People who've been in this match before, right? Let's start with those guys, not with these, young boys of the Death Riders. In this case, Daniel Garcia. Wheeler has been there for long, but he's like the captain of the JV squad, if you get what I'm saying. And then after this, we saw the next entrant from the conglomeration. We thought it was going to be Mark Briscoe. They play the music, right? But he never showed up. And we find out that backstage he was attacked, right? And you're wondering what happened. So Roderick Strong, who's not a member of the conglomeration, he's from the Paradigm, the Paragon, whatever the fuck they are, right? He's willing to take the initiative, and you know what? I'll be next, right? I'll be next. So he gets out there, he makes his way to the ring, and he's laying the attack, putting on the attack on Wheeler Yuta, putting the attack on Daniel Garcia, right? It's Roderick Strong, right? Of all people here, right? And then after this, right? After this, Claudio makes his way, right? The next entrant into this match from the Death Riders, right? And he lays out Roderick Strong. He swings Darby Allin around while Orange Cassidy has him in a rear naked choke. And he's swinging him around. They reference, he's like Superman out there, right? And then Claudio tossed Darby from one side of the ring to the other. After this, the next entrant was from the conglomeration, Kyle O'Reilly. And he goes quick on the offense with double teams with Roderick Strong onto Claudio Castagnoli, right? And then Wheeler Yuta pile drove, right? Darby onto a steel chair in the center of the ring. And next to enter the Blood and Guts match was from the Death Riders, John Moxley. He had a fork on him. He starts hitting with the fork Darby Allin. He starts hitting Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong. Kyle starts bleeding. There's a shitload of blood. Right? He hits Darby Allin with the back in his back with the fork, and he rakes him right with the fork. As Daniel Garcia then does the same thing, and Moxley proceeded to grab some of the weapons that were there from the women's Blood and Guts match, right? So they pile some glass. I get this from the mirror and from the champagne bottle that Timeless Tony Storm used, and they proceed to basically drag Darby Allin, right? They drag him through the glass, right? They started dragging him and shit. Then we hear an announcement by Renee Paquette. She does like an update, like those injury updates that you see when you watch the NFL games, the soccer game, the NBA games, those injury reports, right? And she provides the announcement that Mark Briscoe was attacked by the members of the Don Callis family. Those were the ones who attacked him, right? So he will not be coming out for Blood and Guts. So it was 5-on-4 to start off this Blood and Guts match, right? And then Pac, it was the last entrant, right? Pac was the last entrant, right, for the match. And then officially the Blood and Guts began. And the Death Riders were enjoying the advantage. They were enjoying this. And then out of nowhere, Mark Briscoe shows up, hurt and all. He's making his way to the ring with the toolbox, the cutters and all, right? Makes his way inside the structure. And Wheeler Yuta, meets him, right? And they're brawling on the outside. They end up on the top of the cage, on top of the structure. And Mark Briscoe gets chairs from the bottom. So he has like a rope with a hook. And I guess Kyle O'Reilly was the one who was like connecting the chairs onto this rope from the bottom. And he brought him up, right? And there again, him and Wheeler Yuta are going at it, right? There's a moment in this match where Mark Briscoe eventually hits the J Driller onto Wheeler Yuta from the top of the cage. Gabe Kidd shows up from out of nowhere with the stun gun and hits Darby Allin. And John Moxley stapled Orange Cassidy's hands to his pocket. These are some of the sick moments that happened in this match, by the way. Right? So then we see, because again, Gabe Kidd stun gun, like he stun gunned, Darby Allin. So they're taking Darby Allin like he's choking him and shit. And Pac meets Darby Allin on his platform on top of like the entrance tunnel, right? And on the bottom, there's a table that was set up. And Gabe Kidd proceeds to light it up with lighter fluid and then light up the table. And Pac throws Darby off the platform and he falls into the table. He was still a little bit on fire, right? But just a visual of it, like, yo, that's crazy. It was a crazy fucking visual. And then eventually, right, John Moxley had a rally in the Bulldog choke with the chain around, right? That chain that Orange Cassidy brought in. And then Orange Cassidy gets his hands out of his pocket because they were stapled, right? Roderick Strong hits a flying knee to Daniel Garcia. Mark Briscoe suplexes Pac onto the table on the outside by the ring. Orange Cassidy hits the orange punch to Moxley. Two of them, that is, right? Roderick throws Yuta through a table that doesn't even break. By the way, the tables throughout the show sucked. They sucked. And then Roderick had to like literally force the throw onto Yuta onto the table that doesn't even break, right? But everyone's taken out. And then Kyle O'Reilly hits an ankle lock onto Moxley, but he attempts to counter. But Kyle then locks the knee. Like Kurt Angle would do the ankle lock back in the day. When he had you in the ankle lock, then he would wrap his knee around your leg like a heel hook, right? Like a leg lock. And then when that happened, it was a wrap, right? Everyone was taken out. And Mox had no choice but to tap out. No choice. So this whole thing about John Moxley being a quitter, being a puss, yeah, it does seem true now, doesn't it? It does seem legit. People weren't, and again, man, do I think this is the end of the Death Riders, though? I would hope so, but I just don't think it will be. A part of me thinks Tony will make this last just a little bit longer. I hope that I'm wrong. For my sake, for your sake, for everyone's sake, I hope that I am wrong. But I will say, I enjoyed the match. For the most part, I enjoyed it. I just thought that the women's Blood and Guts was a little better than the men's for the most part. But look who's here to join me to talk about his thoughts on Blood and Guts. The one, the only, Chase Audible. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, Steve.
So I went through most of the stuff, but I know you had stuff going on. But what was your overall thoughts, if you can, in the summary of Blood and Guts 2025?
I would say a much better show than we've been seeing from AEW, that's for sure. Solid pay-per-view progression for Full Gear, but I don't know, the men's Blood and Guts I didn't really care for as much because I've seen too many Death Riders inside these type of matches, doing depth matches and all that stuff. So I didn't really care for the men's Blood and Guts too much. Women's Blood and Guts was fairly enjoyable for it. Like they just went out there and that's what Blood and Guts matches are. Turn off your brain, watch them just do a bunch of crazy stuff. Decent plot development there. More or less, I was just annoyed with some of the spots and pacing during certain portions of both matches and stuff. Like a lot of them were just, I'm like, really? We're doing the spots here like this, that, and all that other stuff. So, but it was a very solid AEW show. Much more passable. Like this is like, oh, if you can only have 3 matches, you did a good job with the 3 matches that you had. Like you found a way. You maximized the hours that you were given.
Yeah, I only said like this was regarding to the women. Because again, right now you have Full Gear happening in a week from Saturday. You have the women's tag team title tournament that you're trying to crown new women's tag team champions or the first tag team champions. I just would have done the women's Blood and Guts on a different date.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think it's just harder to find like the arenas. They don't book that much like big arenas anymore, so hard to do like because he's done it before where he's done part 1, part 2 type shows. So kind of harder to do that and stuff like, and plus you want that in front of a live audience and whatnot because sometimes he takes Collision back to back. So
yeah,
I'm fine with what he did and stuff with both Blood and Guts, but the women's one was I would say definitely much better than the men's. I think with the men's one, it's just because you've seen the Death Riders in these matches so many times. It's just kind of hard to like, and it's kind of hard to like get into because you're just like, I've seen this so many times. And then the women had more star power. The men, it was just kind of like John Moxley, Darby Allin, and then a bunch of dudes. Like that's it, like a bunch of guys and stuff. But yeah, decent plot developments for both matches at least. Like John Moxley quits easy again, so now are the Death Riders, are they sick and tired of their who is supposed to be their fearless leader, John Moxley, being such a wimp that he quits so easily? And then you have the women's side of things where it's like now Tony Storm and Mina have more sympathy in this tag team tournament, which is still a wide open tournament. You built up Megan Bang to be really strong. Oogly Boogly team, I don't care about them. Statlander, she got to touch a lot of women, so you can kind of see like, oh, does this match sound interesting as her as women's world champion and stuff. Mercedes, harmless. She just kind of did her whatever she wanted to do, and deuces. I showed up. I did my spot. So
And I said this too, like, Mercedes had already a busy schedule as it is. Like over the weekend, she was in Italy, right? She had that match over there in Europe. She wrestled last night in Blood and Guts. Did the bare minimum. It is what it is. Some would say under the bare minimum, but whatever. She was there. She did her thing. And now this weekend, she's wrestling at this House of Glory Super Clash event where she will most likely capture another title. So there's a lot on her plate. So, hey, it is what it is at this point. But overall, again, just like you, I thought the show, for the most part, better than most these last couple of Dynamite that we've had these last couple of weeks and months or so.
Hangman and Hobbs was a fun match. Like, honestly, if I'm being honest, that was personally, I would say the match that, going back and watching it, that was my match of the night. I thought that was a very enjoyable match between those two. Minus Hobbs taking a backdrop for no reason off the table.
I forgot to mention that part.
Yeah,
it looked sloppy. It looked like
it's a spot you don't need to do. Like, that's a spot you can avoid if needed. But yeah, I like that. I liked that match a lot. I felt it added a lot more to like the Joe and Hangman feud, and now we're gonna get Joe and Hangman inside of the steel cage. So at least we got the stipulation announced. Hangman got rid of one crony number two, in Shibata this Saturday.
What is this? Actually, no, it's actually.
Oh, next week. My bad. I just saw
I
just saw the collision graphic, so I didn't realize it was on Dynamite / Collision 3 hours. So my bad on that one. But yeah, so like good little basic like babyface heel type of shit where it's like babyface gets rid of the heel cronies, big bad heel versus babyface inside steel cage. Now the odds are even. Let's see what happens inside the steel cage at Full Gear in Jersey. So, but solid stuff overall with that. But that was probably like and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I don't know if he was drunk or abbreviated or anything.
Mention that.
But FTR was really good too in that promo. Stokely was funny in that promo, but FTR especially was just on the money. On like they were just on their A game on the microphone in that one and stuff.
You reach out to Macho Man for me? That should have me crying, bro.
Yeah, so I felt that I felt Dragon Steamboat was just like, dude, what's the point of it? Like he's like I don't like your attitude, and I know that guy. And then he was like I'm gonna like he did not even try.
I just don't think he was. I don't think he was cued in. Like, all right, or they went over what was gonna. Because remember,
no, I think he was cued in. I just think he just didn't either remember or he was drunk. Like either or.
Well, for those that weren't aware, over the week they did advertise both Ric Flair and Steamboat, but Ric Flair couldn't be there due to health reasons. So we had Steamboat there. You know what I mean? And again, he had history in that building, so for the most part, it was fine. But yeah, he looked off though. He looked way off in some of the stuff here. But we got Burdito though, so there was that. But nonetheless, I mean, look, Blood and Guts overall. Good show by AEW. Good show. The women killed it, right? For the most part. Men, they did the stuff, but like you said,
like if you seen like the Death Riders like cage match with Team Ospreay, way better than whatever we saw from Blood and Guts. Like the only thing that is like you can take away from this is that now it's like, okay, the fall of the Death Riders is going to happen. It's not really like Kyle O'Reilly getting this big win. Does it elevate Kyle O'Reilly into main event status? Are we putting him there? You had the interest of, is Roderick Strong going to turn heel? Because the DCF, they didn't really make that presence, but Roddy was in the locker room and stuff, but maybe Mark Briscoe didn't see who attack him. Who knows? You're going to add some stuff, you're adding some layers to it and stuff, but yeah, the Death Rider stuff obviously is the most interesting thing to come out of this. Moxley tapping out so easily. It's pretty much like the gimmick. Like he's not really as much of a leader and stuff. But who's going to lead the Death Riders if Moxley's not the leader? So yeah, we'll see. We'll have to let it play out. But I did enjoy the 2.5 hours that Dynamite put out there. It wasn't like the other episodes where I'm like, oh my god, just slog sometimes that they have on the episodes.
Yeah. It's a shame they buried O'Reilly for years. Otherwise, this win would feel huge. It's too late to rehabilitate his image.
I mean, a lot of it too. Like he got injured, and then like his diabetes like was flaring up or something. Like where he
Yeah,
had
it
to like
was.
he took some time off because of his health issues. So some of it's on Kyle O'Reilly, but yeah, like Kyle O'Reilly beating John Moxley. I'm not like all of a sudden like wow now like Kyle O'Reilly he can be like a world champion for AEW. Like
Oh, of course.
yeah.
You know, but outside of that, you know, again, that was AEW. I know the weekend's coming up. Chase, I know you weren't here for this, but I did mention this early on in the air. You know, today is the 20th anniversary of the passing of Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
You know, and I've
Rest
said,
in
you know,
peace.
exactly, rest in peace. We always remember like where we were when you heard the news and all that stuff. So I ask you, like, where were you? What do you remember 20 years ago when you found out the news of
Oh,
Latino
dude.
Heat passing away?
It was one of my happiest days that became a sad day and stuff. So I was celebrating my great grandma's 100th birthday that day. In 2005, my great grandma turned 100 years old, and we celebrated the birthday.
Bless her.
She was born on November 13th, so we celebrated my great grandma's birthday. And then I remember I came home, and my dad was still in my life at this point. Like, he's not dead; he's just a deadbeat. But my dad was still in my life at this point, and he told me like, "Oh, don't," because my great grandma's birthday, just like Eddie Guerrero's death, happened on a Sunday. Because this is literally like 20 years to the time. Like Eddie Guerrero passed away on a Sunday. On a
we
Sunday,
found out Monday morning.
yeah, we found out Sunday. It was on Sunday.
Well, in my case, I found out Monday morning.
Yeah, because WWE had a taping of Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah,
the next day because they were going to start their European tour, so they filmed Raw and SmackDown back to back in Minnesota. So so then my dad told me, oh, like I was like, hey, let's catch up watching the football games on ESPN. He goes, oh no, we don't need to watch ESPN. And I was like confused. I was like, why does my dad not want to show me ESPN? Because on the ticker they were mentioning Eddie Guerrero's passing. So then afterwards I said, oh, okay, well I'm just going to go on the computer. He goes, yeah, go on the computer and stuff. So I did my usual thing, went on NFL.com, checked the scores, watched whatever highlights my old computer. So then I decided, yeah, let me go to WWE.com. And I went to WWE.com and boom, first graphic I see, Eddie Guerrero, his date of birth to 2005. And the year, I'm like, wait, what? And then I read Eddie Guerrero passed away. And my dad didn't think I was going to check WWE.com. He thought I was just going to go on NFL and then go play video games. But I was like on all the websites. And yeah, that's what happened. I found out that way. And I was really sad and heartbroken when I heard Eddie Guerrero passed away. One of my favorites as a kid, especially especially because he was just coming off being WWE champion. He kind of revitalized his career and everything. I had the Eddie Guerrero DVD that WWE came out. I remember watching that on Sunday. I watched it for a whole week, even though I knew all the bits and stuff. I watched it the whole week because I was just so sad. I was just like, damn, dude, like cheating, death, stealing life. I was like, damn.
Crazy. It really is. It's crazy to think also there's a lot of talent who till this day find ways to pay homage and show respect to him. It's incredible to see. It's incredible, But that basically, unless anything else you want to touch base on before we put a bow on this, Chase?
No, that's it.
Alrighty then. I think for that, look, there's computer issues, but we managed to pull through here. Thank you all again, as always, for tuning in. If you've not checked out the Raw Rundown, where John Cena has won the Intercontinental Championship in his hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. He is now the Intercontinental Champion, the Grand Slam. Gave my thoughts on that. And if you have not checked out Steve's Kitchen, I give my thoughts on the whole Ridge Holland GoFundMe situation. And also my thoughts on the walking out that occurred between Nixon Newell and Miranda Elise, and much more stuff there. You guys know where to follow us at AT Point Network. Follow me at Heel Steven Chase. Let them know where can the fine folks check you out.
Yeah, you can follow me on X at ChaseOver68.
And before we go, let me end the poll here. I asked, which was the better Blood and Guts match? 100% has voted for the women's.
Yeah.
100%.
Makes sense.
Impressive. But thank you all. Much love for all of you for tuning in. I found out of the news about it on the New York daily newspaper when I was in high school. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But thank you all for tuning in. All right. For myself, for Chase, this has been Something About Dynamite here on the Around the Point Network. Peace out, everybody.